Hello friends. Today we are going to discuss about legality of object and consideration. A contract must not only be based on mutual assent of competent parties but must also have a lawful object. If the object of an agreement is the performance of an unlawful act, the agreement is unenforceable. Thus, it means that all agreements are contracts if made for lawful consideration and with lawful object. Consideration should be lawful, as otherwise it would vitiate the whole contract and make it void. Legality of object and consideration according to section 23 of the Indian Contract Act 1872, an agreement of which the object or consideration is unlawful is void. The word object in section 23 is not used in the same sense as consideration. Object means purpose or design of the contract. It implies the manifestation of intention. Thus, if a person file in insolvent circumstances transfer to other for consideration some property with the object of defrauding his creditors, the consideration of the contract is lawful but the object is unlawful. Both the object and consideration of agreement must be lawful, otherwise the agreement would be void. The word lawful means permitted by law. The first point is under the legality of object and consideration, that is lawful consideration. I am giving you a simple example. A promises to pay B rupees 50,000 at the end of 3 months if C, who owes that sum to B, fails to pay it. B promises to grant time to C accordingly. Here, the promise of each party is consideration for the promise of the other party, and they are lawful considerations. Second point under the legality of object and consideration, that is lawful object. A, B, and C enter into an agreement for division among them of the gains to be acquired by them after completing the job. Here, the object of the agreement is to distribute the gains, which is lawful. The third point is unlawful consideration. A promises to obtain for B an employment in the public service and B promises to pay rupees 1 lakh. The agreement is void, as the consideration being A's promise to procure an employment in the public services is opposed to the public policy and hence unlawful. The fourth point is under the legality of object and consideration is unlawful object. A, B, and C enter into an agreement for the division among them of the gains to be acquired by them by theft. Because object of the agreement is to distribute gains from theft, it is unlawful. The second or B point is circumstances under which consideration or object is unlawful. In some cases, the consideration or object of an agreement is unlawful. Section 23 of the Act prescribes that consideration and objects are unlawful. According to section 23, the consideration or object of an agreement is lawful unless it is forbidden by law or it is such nature that if permitted it would defeat the provisions of any law. It is fraud. It involves injury to the person or property of another, or the court regards it as immoral or opposed to the public policy. There are some points which are deemed to be unlawful. First one is forbidden by law. Only those objects and considerations are lawful which are not forbidden by law. Where objects and consideration are forbidden by law, the contract is unlawful. Law here means law in force in India. For example, A agrees to sell certain goods to B. A knows that the goods are to be smuggled out of the country. The contract is unlawful. The second point is, if permitted, it would defeat the provisions of law. An agreement is of such nature that, if permitted, it would defeat the provisions of the law. The consideration or object of such agreement is unlawful. It means that not directly but even directly, if consideration or object of an agreement is against law, it is unlawful. The third point is fraudulent. If the object of the agreement is to cheat the other party by concealment of any material fact or otherwise, the agreement would be deemed void under section 23. The fourth point is injurious to person or property. An agreement entered into by two parties to injure some other person or person or the property of some other person, such an agreement is unlawful, hence void under section 27. The next point is immoral. An agreement of which consideration or object is immoral is void. What is immoral? It depends upon the standard of morality prevailing at the particular place and at the particular time and as approved by the courts. Certain acts are regarded immoral everywhere and from times immemorial and will always be regarded so. The last point is against public policy. An agreement can be declared void if in the eyes of the court it is opposed to the public policy. Against public policy means an act injurious to public goods. What is against public goods is a changing concept. The agreements which in the public interest cannot be enforced are against public policy. Thank you.